Would you like to learn how to be more confident in any situation? Well, you're looking at somebody who suffered from lack of self-esteem for many years. And over a period of time, I have now built rock solid confidence in myself and my abilities. Now that has taken a lot of work, and it's taken a number of strategies as well. There are no shortcuts to confidence. It's something you have to earn. You can't just do some superficial things to become supremely confident. However, there are some strategies that you can start to use, which is going to help you improve your confidence so you can feel confidence in any situation, whether it's a social situation or it's a work situation, or even if it's some sort of a confrontation. How can you feel supremely confident in your capabilities no matter what happens? One of the first things that I did, which has tremendously helped me in building my confidence, is to do a number of tests to identify what type of person I am. So I started by doing a personality test. And in that personality test, I realized that when it comes to how I approach work, I have the red type personality. I have a director type of personality. And when you actually consider the different personality types, you'll find that every personality has its strengths and its weaknesses. Now, all too often what happens is when you don't know your personality type and somebody criticizes you for your weaknesses, you only focus on the weaknesses, but you don't realize that you've got some strengths as well. So personality test is a fantastic way to identify what are the areas where you're strong and what are the areas that you're weak. Nobody is strong in all areas. And when you know your personality type, what you can do is you can spend more and more of your time working on your strengths rather than being too concerned about your weaknesses. When you spend too much time thinking about your weaknesses, that naturally erodes your confidence. So that's why I feel that a personality test is a fantastic way to build confidence within yourself. Now, I've obviously gone beyond just a personality test. I've done a number of tests. I've done passion-based tests, value-based tests, strength assessment tests as well, to identify all the different dimensions of who I am. And so now, because I am supremely clear on who I am, it is very difficult to destroy my confidence. If somebody comes and criticizes me unfairly or attacks me or misunderstands me, it doesn't affect me now because I know exactly who I am. But the reason I know exactly who I am is because I've spent so much time trying to be very clear on all the different elements that make me who I am. Now, every single person is quite unique in their characteristic of purpose and passion and values and strengths. And so if they take the time to identify what their personality type is, along with some of the other factors that I've mentioned, then that can give them a permanent boost in confidence, which is very hard to penetrate through people's criticisms and attacks. The second thing that I would suggest is that you do a lot of reading in philosophy and spirituality to understand true human potential. I don't think people realize the power of being a human being. In so many of my past videos, I make references to the fact that humans are one of the most creative and powerful species on the planet. And people have heard that so many times, but you can hear something and still not fully understand what it means. I would highly recommend that everybody that's listening to this video spend some time reading and studying philosophy and spirituality, because that is what's going to make you realize the true power of the human spirit. And when you really understand the power of the human spirit, it will make you believe in your potential a lot more. You see, there's nothing wrong in having a scientific mind, but science doesn't talk about human potential. Science sees us predominantly as matter, but we are not just matter. We are matter and energy, and you can't rely on science alone to understand the complex human condition. You have to go beyond science into philosophy and spirituality to truly comprehend what it means to be a human being, because a lot of the limitations that we perceive in our life on ourselves are simply not true and can be overcome through the way we imagine and we use the power of the human spirit. So believing in your potential is a great and sustainable booster of confidence, because nobody who understands human condition and human potential suffers from lack of confidence, because they understand that no matter what's happening in their immediate environment, no matter what their circumstances are, they can overcome those circumstances through their vision, through their imagination, through their creativity. So believing in your potential is the second way that I have built my own confidence, because I understand my potential, but I also understand your potential, because human potential is the same. The difference in results come from how people are tapping into that potential. The vast majority of human beings, because they don't know what their potential is, they don't tap into their potential. They live very limited lives. They have an extremely narrow view of life and its possibilities. But once you start to understand your potential, it broadens your perspectives and it gives you this internal confidence that nobody can take away from you. The third thing that you can start to do to remain confident in any situation is to start to take pride in your appearance. Now, that is both at the physical level in terms of how you present. When you build a good and strong body through eating nutritious food and regular exercise, but then in addition to that, you make sure that you package yourself well. And when I talk about packaging yourself well, what I'm talking about is how you dress. Now, I'm not saying that you need to dress formally. You don't have to be in suits. Because I have traditionally come from the wealth management industry, which is a very conservative industry, and my past experiences has been in private banking and funds management, I am naturally somebody who enjoys dressing conservatively, and it's very much in alignment with my occupation. However, dressing well, regardless of how you dress, you can dress in a traditional manner, you can dress in a simple manner, you can even be very trendy, but just taking care of how you look can elevate your confidence. So many people feel unattractive when they look at themselves in the mirror. And the fact is that no matter how you look genetically and naturally, there are many things that you can do to improve your skin quality, to improve your personality, to improve what you wear. And I very strongly believe that no matter how you look naturally, everybody can look at least a 7 out of 10. And when you look good, you feel good. And that can also improve your confidence in any situation. The fourth thing that I did, which has also allowed me to remain confident in any situation, is that I stopped comparing myself with other people. When I realized that every human being is different in their strengths, I realized that if somebody is doing extremely well, it's mainly because they have tapped into their strengths and their zone of genius and their values. And when I realized that I don't need to compare myself with them, all I need to do is to be the best version of me that is going to give me the highest probability of success, then that I realized also improved my confidence. Now, it's a natural instinct, especially if you're ambitious, to want to compare yourself with people who are doing well. Now, there's nothing wrong in looking at people's performance, but you remember you only want to spend about 20% of your time looking at what other people are doing, especially if they're in the same industry or the same field as you, and you're competitive by nature. It is fine for you to spend 20% of your time researching what's happening out there, but most of your attention, 80% of your attention, should be on your performance and your strengths. And you should stop comparing yourself with others, because the more you compare yourself with others, the more you'll find that it will start to deplete your confidence. The fifth thing that I have done, which has also allowed me to remain confident in any situation, is that I am not afraid to make mistakes. So a lot of people end up overthinking what they're going to do, and the reason they overthink and they procrastinate is because they don't want to make a mistake. And the reason why they do that is because they think that mistakes are bad. If you reframe that perspective in your mind and you start to see mistakes as positive and even necessary to your growth and your success, then what happens is you're no longer afraid of making decisions, and you're no longer afraid of making mistakes. And that reduces procrastination, that reduces overthinking, because overthinking is one of the major contributors of self-doubt. So as you start to lower your overthinking, the confidence naturally goes up. But it's something that you have to try and remind yourself. You have to try and remind yourself that mistakes are not bad. Now, I'm not saying that you continue to make the same mistake over and over and over again, but what I'm saying is if you've made a mistake once or twice, it is absolutely fine, because that's the only way that we learn. And unfortunately, in some cultures, mistakes are punished and they're embarrassed and they're ridiculed. But in the cultures where mistakes are celebrated and seen as necessary for success, those cultures and those nations tend to have more prosperity than the cultures that shame mistakes. So as long as you have a positive perspective on mistakes, what you'll find is that naturally you will no longer doubt yourself. And as you don't doubt yourself, your confidence will start to increase naturally. The sixth thing that has enabled me to be confident in any situation is to understand the irrationality of my fears. Now, everybody has some fears, right? Now, it's fine for you to feel fear, but it's not fine for you to act on your fear. And majority of people, the reason why they're not confident in life is because not only do they continue to feed their fear through their attention, but they act on their fears as well. Now, when you see somebody who's confident, if you assume that I'm confident, it doesn't mean that I don't have fears. The only difference is that unlike a lot of people, I don't act on my fears. I act based on my vision and my dreams. Most people are acting based on their fears. So when we understand the fact that fears, most of our fears are actually imagined, and the vast majority of them will never come true. The 70 to 80% of our fears will never come true. Probably 10 or 15% have already happened. So when we realize how much of life we do not live because of the 3 or 4% of fears which may or may not happen, it makes no sense. It's completely irrational. And once we start to really understand and appreciate the irrationality of fear, that naturally starts to boost our confidence as well. And this is something that I constantly remind myself, and that's how I have built rock solid confidence in myself, because every time I feel fear, I remind myself that just because I'm feeling it doesn't mean I need to act upon it. It is my primal response. It's my brain's survival response to feel fear anytime I'm about to embark on a project or a venture or a task that I've never done before, because my brain is simply trying to protect me. So it's raising an alarm through self-doubt and fear because it doesn't want me to do that particular thing, because I have no cells of recognition for that new activity. Now, as long as I understand what my brain is trying to do, I don't have to believe it. I don't have to believe it, whereas a lot of people end up believing their brain when it starts to produce this self-doubt and this fear. And because they engage with that fear, they end up engaging in inaction and procrastination, and they never do the things that they want to do. And over a period of time, what happens is if you don't act on your dreams, your confidence will start to erode, because you never go after your dreams, you never go after your vision. So very important to understand that majority of our fears will never materialize and are completely and totally irrational. The seventh thing that has also enabled me to remain confident in any situation is that I think and prepare in advance. Before I put myself in any social or business related situation, I find out as much as I can about that situation. I find out about the environment, I find out about the culture, I find out about the people that are going to be there, I find out about people's expectations, because the more you are armed with that information, the more you will find that you have confidence, because a lot of people put themselves in situations and they're completely clueless as to how they're supposed to conduct themselves. The ability to adapt to different situations comes from experience. And I'm always putting myself in diverse situations to try and get as much experience as possible in different cultures, with different people, in different organizations. And so now I've got a lot of confidence because I understand that people are more or less the same everywhere. But when you are entering a situation, if you can somehow find out more about that situation, or even if you're about to take on a project or a task or an assignment, if you can find out as much as you can about that, you will find that you will be able to make more confident decisions. Don't go in unarmed. A lot of situations are like a battlefield. When you're entering a battlefield, you want to be as equipped as possible, and the knowledge that you have is the weapon that you use. If you don't have the right knowledge, you're not armed with information, it's like going into a battlefield unarmed. And that's exactly what so many people do to themselves, which is why they don't have confidence. Now, there are many other things that I talk about from a confidence perspective, and I try and refrain from strategies that only give you this short-lived confidence. I usually try to work on the principles, and I try and master the inner game of confidence, because it's not about feeling confidence once in a while. It's actually about feeling confidence on a sustained level, regardless of situation, regardless of what happens. Now, if that's something that you're interested in, find out about our programs, because in my programs, I have a number of things that I teach, enabling people to understand how their mind works, how their personality works, how their values work, how their spirit works, and then merging all of that knowledge so they can totally feel aligned with who they are. Once we know exactly who we are, it's very hard to break our confidence. But for now, what I'd like you to do is, if you've enjoyed watching this video, I'd like you to share what is the one tip out of all the ones that I've shared that really stood out for you, that you can start to apply to improve your confidence, so you can feel supremely confident in any situation.